women are so fucking cool.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Women Are So Fucking Cool. I am Joanne Morton, and I am talking to some amazing women that I am so grateful to be able to share with you. So this podcast is a ongoing series that I've been working on really since 1992 when I made the first video called Women Are So Fucking Cool. And since then, I've founded the FCW Society with a lot of other fucking cool women, and we are everywhere. Yes, we are. And this podcast I interview different women. Really, I just actually chat with them in my art studio via Zoom. So some of the episodes that you watch, you'll see my actual behind the screen without a backdrop because technical yada yadas. I don't want to go into it, but I realized at first I want you to see the real me. So sometimes you're going to see me with good hair, and sometimes you're going to see me with messy hair because we're women and we are okay no matter how we are. I want us all to remember that. So, but today's episode, I talked to Holly Burgess. I have not met Holly in person. I love talking to people that I have not met in person. So if you'd like to be on the podcast or you know someone, please reach out to me. But Holly is actually living in the same city that I'm living in now, Savannah. So I have no doubt we'll be meeting very soon. But I really appreciated getting to know her via this podcast. And she's a shaman. She really has this amazing insight in how to understand a woman's journey. And she works with women of all different places in life to help them. And I think she's really very smart. And I really love the conversation we had about her husband, her partner, because there are fucking cool men out there. And I love knowing that and people, right? So we are really important to remember that we need fucking cool people to make our society sustainable and thriving, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that I really was moved by, because every time I get to do these conversations, I get inspired, right? And one of the things that she said was so profound that I'm going to spoiler alert it for you because I want you to listen for it. She said, you can't make your living with something you are not living. You can't make a living with something you're not living. And I'm going to put this even just a bit further. You you've got to live your values, right? If you want these values to come with you and be with you, you've got to live them. So respect, encourage, celebrate are three things that I find so dear and how I want to treat as many people as possible. And I really think that is the essence of fucking cool people. Well, enough of me talking. Let's go and talk to Holly and Joanne. Listen to Holly and Joanne hanging out in their spaces. So have a great day. And please share this podcast and like it, subscribe, and all that other good stuff. Till next time. Wish I had tech support. Okay. Oh, well, as I always say, and I'll keep saying it, as long as I'm doing this podcast, I get to talk to another fucking cool woman. Yay! Hello, Holly.
Hello, hello.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm so glad we're doing this. We've had such a lovely conversation already. I can't wait to hear the answer to the first question. What is a fucking cool woman? Or
What
who is a fucking
isn't
cool
a
woman?
fucking cool woman?
Yeah.
That would be my first response. And when I thought about this question, what I kept zeroing back to was the idea that women really masquerade in the modern world as all kinds of different things when we are much deeper things. We are portals and we birth everything that you see in the world literally comes from the woman. And I am so honored to be a woman and to experience life as a woman and to know so many fucking cool women, including you now.
Yeah. And what are some of the attributes? What's the value, what are things that you see in a woman that you kind of go, oh, she's FCW?
Yeah. So for me, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm kind of low key obsessed with really intuitive women who walk through the world in very different ways. And, most of my life, so I'm a shaman and I work with a lot of women who are on the spiritual path, and a lot of them are going into roles as healers, roles as ascension leaders, roles as teachers. However, I have this little subset of women that I work with and that I know in life who aren't any of that. Like they are like the bridge builders into from the old world into the new world. And they walk into the banks and they walk into the law offices and the hospitals and the corporations. And on the surface, they are this, put together, professional and, seen in these certain ways. But underneath, whew, there is so much depth and there are so many codes and there are so many energies that are being birthed through them into the world. And so that's probably one of the things that I really see as really fucking cool in women is women who are walking through the world as one thing and they are actually much deeper than you could ever even see on the surface. So that's one thing that I really love. But I also really love how women are coming back into their sacred gifts and coming back into the ways that we always were, right? In ancient times, we're bringing that back to the earth. And I'd say the third attribute for me is the ability to be both of those, like all of that and completely human, right? Like balancing the divine nature and the divinity with the human nature and the humanity and being able to be both. I find that a lot of the time when people get to know me, if they get to know me through my work, through my spiritual work and through that connection, when they start to see me as a human, it's like sometimes they have some odd reactions, right? Because it's like, oh, wait, no, I've seen all this power and I've seen all this magnetism and I've seen all these gifts. And then I see you walk through the world and just like, go to the grocery store or whatever. And we're all of it. We are all of it. Like for me, what I do is a role that I am assigned to help people grow, but that's not the whole of who I am. And I don't choose an identity. I allow myself to step into different identities based on where I'm going that day and what is important in my life that day. So I guess that's what I'm saying is for me, a fucking cool woman is someone who meets those that she needs to meet by being able to put on an archetype and be what she needs to be, while also honoring her truth and who she's always been, soul level, and is willing to actually like go be a human too.
Yeah, that was it's a really nice interpretation. I mean, as you can guess, everyone's more or less saying the same thing, similar values, similar ideas, but in their own unique voices, which is exactly what you just kind of led to, that we
Yeah.
have to allow women to navigate their life's journey using whatever means they need to do in the situation they're in,
Mhm.
knowing that in the core is who they are. And if
Mhm.
you respect, encourage, and celebrate that, then you will experience that with them and you will and that's the power.
Yes, that for me, and the difference between empowerment and disempowerment when we see things out in the world is truly just a matter of awareness. A woman who walks into the courtroom and knows exactly what archetype she needs to put on to win the case is a very different awareness from a woman who is walking through the world as something that she is not, to people please and to be what society is telling her to be. It is all a matter of whether the soul is aware of what is actually happening. And if it is, then that's empowerment, baby.
Yeah, that is so true. It is so true. Yeah, yeah, we have there are many levels and facets of us for sure. So with that, when do you think, how did you find your when do you think you started to understand that you're a fucking cool woman?
Whew. So For me, I believe that most of us are in a constant remembering of what was lost through the conditioning of what we've been through, right? And for me, when I was a little girl, my mom caught me in the mirror, and I was looking at myself, and I was just like, "You are beautiful." And it wasn't about how I looked, right? That was part of it. It was this recognition of who I am, right? You are beauty, you are love, you are light. And, I look at my own journey back to who I am, my own journey to my own confidence, and what I've seen reflected in women that I know, women that I work with, women that I'm friends with. And that's really what it is. It's not anything that we are developing. It is truly a return. We are returning to what we have always known. In fact, I just led the shamanic birthrights for a group yesterday, and literally, it's like everything that we are meant to be, everything that we are, we were that. We were that from birth. We knew that. It is the conditioning of the world that we live in, the reality that we incarnated into, that causes us to separate ourselves from it. And it starts, the moment that slap happens when you are born, right? And so, truly for me, there has been a journey, and there has been growth, absolutely, but it's really just deconditioning, in my opinion. It's been a return to that little girl who looked in the mirror and knew she was beautiful inside and out, knew who she was, knew her divinity, and that the act of incarnating as a human is beautiful as well.
Yeah, and that what you just said sparked what I wanted to say before about this journey of women of the human female. The journey of the human
Yeah.
female has gone through a lot, over the time of period. And we are in a moment of time where someone just recently told me this, and I'm very fascinated by it. We're 5 generations of people living on this planet. So 5 generations of women,
Yeah.
put it that way. And each generation of women had their women who were leading us to understand that divine power of the divine feminine, right? And
Yeah.
now, as we are in this stage in time, because we know the future is female, there's a rise in feminine energy, right?
Yeah.
And so now there's 5 generations of feminine energy in the human body, because we also know that there's feminine energy in the male body, but
Yeah.
that's their energy to deal with. This is our power, right? That we can share, whatever. But yeah, so I feel like you just kind of sparked a reminder that even though, you know, sometimes I hear women of a different age, like, why do we have to be marching? Why do we have to do this? I'm not talking about now that's just one element of the activism that we do,
Yeah.
but we can get a little disenchanted because, oh, I've already known this. I know my feminine power. Why do we have to keep, encouraging other women? They should just know it. But it's like
Mhm.
divine timing. And we all are on this journey. And the power, the more of us that rise up and just remember that there's always moments in time
Mhm.
to find revitalize your own divine energy as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what I'd say for you, knowing that you're an intuitive woman and any other intuitive women who happen to be listening or watching, is we are going to feel it until none of us feel it. So, our job is truly to learn to separate and see the illusion and be like, nope, not mine. Nope, this is collective, right? And really step back and be like, okay, I know where I am in my own work and my own remembering of who I am, but I'm still going to feel it as long as they feel it. So, that is why activism is still important, because you are them and they are you. They are part of you because we are a whole. And so while they're feeling it, you will still feel it. And so you are still going to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I feel so much anxiety, or I feel this, or I feel that. Well, yeah, because you are feeling the weight of the world around you, which the feminine has been carrying for generations. And to speak to the masculine, I come from a very different lens, because I know a lot of women, luckily, fortunately, on my path, I have had a very healthy relationship with the masculines in my life. I have a great relationship with my father. I have a great relationship with men, and my husband and I have been together for 18 years, and he has evolved with me, and he has always held space for me since the very beginning. And I mean, I honestly even like I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I see where my dark feminine was testing him. I see what I was doing, right? Because I needed to know that he had the capacity to really hold the wild rawness that I am, because I am wild and raw. And I look back and I've watched as his capacity has grown over the years for me. And as I've balanced, he's balanced. And it's just been this beautiful synergy. And so to me, the masculine is pure consciousness. It is the ability to be present, it is the ability to truly hold space and not become anything. So like a true masculine is not what most women interpret in men. It is a man who can stand in front of you strong and listen to you rage and listen to you cry and listen to what's on your heart and not feel the need to do anything, because doing is actually wounded masculine. So he has really grown into this beautiful ability to be a vessel, to be a container for my wildness. And then in the process of that, his feminine energy has gone so high. And he's a creative. I married a creative, so feminine energy is more natural for him anyway, because he was already so tapped into it through his music medicine. So yeah, so I just want to give, like, I know we're talking about the feminine, we're talking about the women on this podcast, but I just want to give a little bit of shout out to the men who hold them, because they are out there and they are coming into their power as well in a different way. We are very different, and the feminine within women, we definitely hold, or those that identify as women, we really do hold a lot for the collective, and we are holding it right now so that they can ultimately rise, those who identify more as masculine.
Oh, we love our fucking cool men.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there are fucking cool men. And I've even been I'm gonna do this eventually at some point. I actually want to interview fucking cool men for the
Yeah,
Women Are So Fucking Cool podcast, because I believe, they're just as important as part of the journey, fucking cool
sure.
people. Oh yeah. There
Yeah.
is, oh yeah, patriarchy is bad for everybody,
It
you know?
is, and
It
it's been such a separation because women
mhm.
have had so many challenging experiences with men, and I do have a history of some of that, earlier on in my life. But ultimately, like, showing an example is really, really helpful when we do have fucking cool men. I was actually just thinking this morning, probably inspired from this podcast. I have a community for women called The Web, and I was like, oh, I need to do a live with Tony sometime, because I don't think a lot of women are seeing an example of a man who can rise with them. They are out there though.
Oh, they are. Yeah, and I know many of them. I know so many fucking cool men. Yeah, I've really been very blessed as well with the relationships I with men. I mean, there's some, yeah, I mean, all the men I've ever had any kind of relationships with, we never ended, we ended it because it was ended,
Yeah,
and
for
things
sure.
end,
Yeah,
you have to know when relationships are over and when they begin, and it's challenging, but that's life. We have to
yeah.
continue to evolve. So,
For
well, we've
sure.
already shared with me one of the fucking cool men that which we love. But tell me about some FCWs that you know and why they're so important to you.
Yeah, I thought about this question and I realized the lens that I could answer it through. And I was like, okay, I could go to my mama, who I always say my mom is literally like so much more powerful than me. She does not do the work that I do. She is not conscious of, like, yeah, she's a Baptist, right? Like, she's doing her own thing, but she's doing it without any of the tools or awareness that I have. So my mom broke the curse of physical abuse in our family line. She broke the curse of alcoholism in our line. Like, she did so much work before me. So I'm always just truly honored by her work and her growth on this planet. And then, so I thought about through that lens. I thought about through the lens of, like, women who are well known. And then I thought about the lens of, like, just, my friends and my family and, women I know in the communities and women that I've worked with and all of that. And then I settled on sort of my most recent example. So I have been teaching my students, my apprentices, my clients for years that women step into leadership naturally. We do not run the world the way that men have been showing us the example of running the world for hundreds of years. And that is, I want the job. I'm qualified for the job. I'm credentialed. I'm the best candidate. And, I'm going to get the job. You're going to give me the title. And then I'll, fulfill these promises to you. And that's really not how women lead. Women lead naturally. We see a need and we step in with compassion from our heart of service. And so I started this community earlier this year called The Web, and it's an online community for women who are intuitive and who are looking to meet other women who are intuitive, right? And so as I started my community, I all of a sudden saw these women just sort of like rise to the surface, and they just kind of started leading with me. And it's been several, and I just literally saw what I had been teaching for years and years and years come to life in the most beautiful, organic way. And I knew in that moment, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So they're going to lead without the title, without the officialness of it, without any of it. And then one day it's going to become official. And I didn't know when that would be. And then a couple weeks ago, Spirit was like, it's time. And so I announced, and I was able to bring several of them on board as community keepers of our community and give them official roles. And so watching them like actually step into the role from that place of heart, right? Like from that place of, yes, there is a need, I will fulfill the need. And it doesn't really matter if I'm getting recognized for it, if I'm, like have a title, if it's official, it doesn't matter. The need is there. And that's what it really means to be self-led and to be led by spirit. It is really about following the soul's calling of like, this needs to be done, right? It's not about, am I getting recognition from it, right? I always say men come for legacy, or masculine comes for legacy, not men, but masculine comes for legacy, women come for lineage, right? So women come for what is coming after us, not for what am I leaving on this planet that will remind everyone of the great work that I did, right? And so I watched them step into this role, and it was just so amazing to watch it come to life in such a big way. Like literally my teachings come to life. It was like, oh, so okay, cool. So that was actually like very legit. And I had seen it in other areas of my life. Otherwise I wouldn't have been teaching it, but I had never seen it to this magnitude. It was like, they just stepped in. And so that's who I want to actually honor as fucking cool women. And their names are Brittany Frey, Brandy Keenan, Nicole Light, Loretto Dalmazo, and Whitney Martin. And so they've just stepped in, and they're keepers of the web, and they're, it's a mutually beneficial situation. And I'm just really proud of being able to see that come into form.
Oh, that's such a lovely way. That's so lovely. They'll all have to be on the podcast once in a while. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so lovely. And you really, and the next thing that I like to talk about is this idea of how do we embrace the core values of FCW: respect, encourage, and celebrate. And I'm currently working with a woman opening a business here in Savannah, and we're doing
Yeah.
that. We are having that element. We're respecting each other, we're encouraging each other, and celebrating each other. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you just described with how you're finding people to step into different roles because you see their value, you're respecting
Yeah.
them, then you encourage them, and then now you
And
just celebrated them.
yes, yes. And, even one, like she hasn't even come forward. I know she will at some point, but I'm actually working right now on, so my work, a lot of it comes to me, through, paid efforts, right? Like people who are paying me for my services. But shamanism is a way of life. It is not meant to be your career. It is meant to be, it can be how you make your living, but you can't make your living through something that you are not living. And so I live in the way. And in the way, if a soul comes to me and it's not for paid work, it is still my work. So I was drawn to actually a prayer card, found me on the street, nowhere near a church, for a little boy with a brain tumor. And so I'm working on that situation right now energetically and doing some energy work for this little boy. And one of these women just came and she was like, I am so called to help you with this. And she just immediately got involved. And wanted to work on him. And so, I mean, that is leadership to me. That is a fucking cool woman to me. That is someone who literally is like, my heart led me here and I am going to listen.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, we are coming to a close because we both have things to do and we could talk forever. But you said some really amazing things insight. So I am grateful for that for myself. And I know people who are listening will also agree. So what's your little words of wisdom? What's your fucking cool words of wisdom?
Mm. One of my favorite phrases to look deeply in the eyes of a woman and say is, you never rush a woman. And you can find whatever level of power in that you need right now. But you do not have to rush yourself. You do not have to push yourself. You do not have to force yourself. And when you surrender to yourself, that is where all the magic happens.